let's get this Instagram feed going here. And now we are ready to go. I am Coach James. I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics, which is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about a range of science and physics related topics, including but not limited to friction, force, aerodynamics, drag, lift, Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, kinetic energy, potential energy, elastic energy, elastic force, a range of science and physics related topics. And once we have learned all of the science, once we've conducted experiments to drive home all those concepts, then and only then do I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars, and each student has the opportunity to select a Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything they've learned in the course. Once they have selected their cars, once they've examined their cars, they've weighed their cars, they test the speed of their cars, they check the year the car was manufactured, the materials the car is made of, all of that information they observe, they enter into a spreadsheet, and then we set up a 1/64th scale quarter-mile drag strip, and they race the cars. They observe how their cars performed. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And if they had the opportunity, would they select that car again? Or would they make a different choice based on everything they've observed? In the end, we have fun with Hot Wheels, and we learn science. What could be better? But this is not all about aerodynamics. This is all about Aerodynamics presents Wind Tunnel Wednesdays. So on Wind Tunnel Wednesdays, we take the 1/64th scale wind tunnel known as the Windsible, made by Funtech Labs, and we put Hot Wheels cars in there. We turn it on and smoke streams flow over, under, and around the cars, and we are able to look at the aerodynamic profiles of each of these cars, and based on what we see in the wind tunnel, we get an idea about how much drag the car is going to experience when it hits our track. And drag is the most critical factor for the cars that race on our track. And cars that can reduce and minimize the amount of drag are the cars that tend to maintain their speed longer and do a better job on the track and have more success. Every Saturday at AtTheTrack.live, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and whatever time, wherever you are, we race cars. We introduce new cars into our fleet. That fleet that I said I take 400 cars to the schools. I actually have, we're up to 900. We had our 900th car on Saturday. So we've got 900 different cars in the fleet, and this Saturday we'll introduce, 5 or 6 more. Plus, people who are viewing have the opportunity to participate in the races. All you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, and you're going to have 3 options. One's the Twitch stream link, one's the YouTube stream link, but the third link is the most important one. That is the option that says choose a car. If you go to that link, you will be taken to this page. And on this page, all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet are listed. All 900 cars. All of them. And we're talking about cars from the 60s. I don't have any cars from the 60s. Cars from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and some that are even more recent, like that have just been released within the last few weeks. We have Lamborghinis, Ferraris, we have Batmobiles, we have off-road cars, we have trucks, we have fantasy cars, we have character cars, every kind. There's this Nemo car that was selected just this past Saturday to race. We have every type of and style of Hot Wheels car imaginable. Even if we don't have the specific car that you're looking for, we'll have one that's very, very close. And when you scroll through, the Scorpedo. Hey, Roughshod, Christopher, Virgo, how you doing? The Scorpedo. This is one that Roughshod picked last week to race, and it's just one of those unusual cars that it's one of the few cars that putting it in the wind tunnel doesn't really tell us everything we need to know because the shape is so crazy. The style is so outrageous that it really doesn't follow any of the kind of traditional rules. So sometimes you just have to take these cars to the track and take a look. And so that was a car that raced last week. All kinds of cars are here. So go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, find a car. When you find the car that you want, let's say it's this McLaren Senna, this one. You can click on it, take a close look at the reflection, and that will usually tell you if it is a metal body on a plastic base or plastic on metal, or in some cases metal on metal. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the number associated with that car. In this case, it's 99. You would take that, you would drop it into the chat. I will pull that car. If you do that today, then we'll put the car in the wind tunnel. If you do that on Saturday, then we will put the car into the tournament and we will take it to the track and we will see exactly if that car has what it takes to beat out the other cars that viewers have picked, and if it has what it takes to compete against and beat out our fastest in fleet car, our champion. And our championship car has been for the past, most of the year, for about the past 5 months or so, it has been this car, the BlitzSpeeder. The BlitzSpeeder is absolutely the fastest Hot Wheels car on the planet, and it is it's just a next level fast kind of car, and it has not really been challenged. There have been a couple of cars, like Roughshod mentioned, he picked the Slide Kick. That car hung with it. The Whipped Creamer 2, also another car that hung with the BlitzSpeeder. But for the most part, the BlitzSpeeder has just destroyed every car that it's faced. But sooner or later, we're bound to find a car that is faster. We have 899 other cars. So it just stands to reason that there's going to be a car that's faster than the BlitzSpeeder at some point. We just have to find it. So maybe you can find it. Maybe it'll be a new car that I introduce into the fleet. I don't know, but the BlitzSpeeder is our fastest in fleet car. And because it's our fastest in fleet car, we always put it into the wind tunnel first so that we can take a look at its aerodynamic profile, because any car that's going to beat the BlitzSpeeder needs to be able to reduce drag to the same amount as the BlitzSpeeder, or even better. But looking at the BlitzSpeeder in the wind tunnel should give some idea about the kinds of cars that will be able to possibly be competitive against the BlitzSpeeder. So we're going to put the BlitzSpeeder in the wind tunnel. That's going to be our first car in. But I am going to... Well, so I went on live yesterday because we've been kind of going through some experimentation here. Our wind tunnel, we were waiting on this thing for a while, the Runsible. So the company that makes the Windsible made this, the Runsible. And it's a little dyno where you can put cars on it. And let me find a car that's doesn't happen to be blue. Or green. You can put cars on it, and then you turn this lever, and then the rollers spin, and the car, it simulates the car rolling. We were going to take the Runsible, stick it inside the Windsible, and then because there are 5 levels of smoke, or 5 streams of smoke, and we wanted to raise the cars up so that the car interacted with more of the smoke streams, and we could get more information. The Runsible, the first week, we couldn't get it in. The second week, we figured out how to get it in, and then it wouldn't turn on. Then I found out that these battery tabs just need to be bent in, so then we got it to turn on. Then we finally had the Runsible inside the Windsible, and it turns out that it was so big and bulky, these rollers in the front, basically the smoke streams would hit these rollers, and then the smoke has to go over, under, and around. It can't go under, can't go around. So it would just end up with smoke coming up over the sides, and it created this haze where it was hard to see what was going on with the car. So it just, and the fact that the Runsible cars don't stay centered. When you put them on there, they drift to one side or the other, and it just kept happening. And with the wind tunnel, all of the smoke streams are right in the middle. So you need the car to stay centered. Otherwise, you know, the smoke streams are going to be just trailing over side edge of the car, and that's no good. So the Runsible just didn't live up to the expectations. It's a cool little device. It's pretty solidly made. Seems to be some kind of, if it's not metal, it's some kind of very thick plastic, whatever it is. Solidly made, and it's a cute little thing to have on a desk or a table or whatever. But for us, it just wasn't working. But it did remind us that we did need to raise the cars up. So yesterday I went on live and I took a couple of, I just took some, they're just little pieces of scrap wood and put together this. I mean, I've painted it black at this point, but it is essentially just this. Just a little piece of scrap wood with little blocks on there, and I made 2 of these for the wheels. So now we'll put this in the Windsible and then adjust this under the wheels, and the cars will raise up just a little bit. And if need be, we can put little tiles underneath here to raise them up a little more. But these should allow the cars to interact with more of the smoke streams and keep the car in place, something that the Runsible couldn't do. So let's go ahead and see how this is going to work. Switch over here. And if you want to see, even though it's not, again, it's a pretty rough, just kind of DIY situation, and it you just sit the first tires in there, other tires in there, and let me double check, make sure everything's lined up straight. It is. So the whole idea and point is that we wanted to just raise the car up. So now what we should see as we close this, and here's another thing it's going to prevent. It used to be if we just set the car on the floor of the Windsible, when I locked this shut, the cars would roll forward. That is not the case. Now the cars just stay put. So we are going to go ahead and fire this up and see what we're looking at. And we should get a little pop of smoke. The smoke should pop pretty early on. It's usually what happens with this thing. All right, so we're up to 67 miles per hour, which is our basic sort of cruising speed for these cars. And what we can already see, even at this low level, is that raising the car up just that little bit, now this first level of smoke is hitting the bottom of the bumper. So as we turn this up, we should get to see some of the airflow underneath. We're also getting a big kind of hazy mess under here, but let's go ahead and turn the speed up and see what we're looking at. And if you go back and watch yesterday when I was putting these little blocks together and just sort of showing an overview of the Windsible, I had a different view that showed how much of this smoke escapes out of the back of the Windsible, and I think the newer versions, the manufacturers have said that they've kind of tightened it up so you don't have as much of the smoke escaping, and it's not toxic, so that's not the issue. But there's a lot of it, just a lot of exhaust coming out of this thing. All right, we're up to 147 miles per hour, 161, 174. And what we're seeing, and the thing to look for with the BlitzSpeeder, is that this smoke, it hits the front of the car, hits that front bumper, comes up over the hood, then it comes up right over the windshield to the roof line and right across the back until it tails off of the roof. And what we don't see is the air flow separating from the body of the car. It continues to flow. Even this third stream hits right there at the top of the windshield roof line and flows straight across. With other cars that we put in here, we're going to see that there's going to be a point where this airflow breaks away from the body of the car. And when that happens, that's not going to be ideal, because it creates an area of low pressure. There's high pressure at the front, low pressure at the back, and that difference in pressure creates pressure drag, which works to slow the forward momentum of the car. So that is one of the things that we are sort of aware of. We're up to 188 miles per hour, going up to 215. And it's just that smooth airflow. That is what you want to see. You don't want to have anything that's disrupting the airflow or blocking the airflow or preventing it from flowing over the car. This is pretty much what you want to see. And you can see the smoke trailing out from under the, from behind the front wheel, around the back. And this is it. This is the car. This is the car that has been extremely dominant. And this is what you want to see from the car. Whatever car you pick, you want an aerodynamic profile that is very similar to this, because it's already been shown that the BlitzSpeeder is the car to beat, like without question. It is the car. But we have some candidates to take the BlitzSpeeder on and to take the BlitzSpeeder out, and we'll see if any of those can match up. So let's go ahead and take a look. Christopher he's looking at two cars. I just want to double check. Car 466 and 478. So 466 would be this one. Okay, I just want to I'm just checking the spreadsheet to make sure I pulled the right car. And it is, switch over to this view. It is this car. It is the 2016 Ford GT Race car. And this is a solid pick. One of the things we talk about with the launcher that we use is it's important for cars to have a flat back end, and this car has that wing. We see a lot of cars with wings right at the roof line that do well on the track. This car has that. That wing's a little higher than the roof line, but right there. It's flat across the back. It's got this giant, just massive diffuser in the back that you'll see as the car comes around. And beyond that, it's got all the sort of typical hypercar, supercar features that you'd expect to see. And what will be interesting to see now when we put this in the wind tunnel is now that this car is raised up a little bit, will we be able to see if the diffusers on Hot Wheels work in the same way that they would on real cars. So we're going to grab this car and stick it in the wind tunnel, take a look, and see what we see. Alright, so let's get this here. I can just adjust this. Get it right under the wheels. And make sure I've got it centered up, which right now it is not. And it's a little easier to center up these cars that have the racing stripes going right down the middle. That makes it a lot simpler. And let me slide this back just a little. Oh, see, now I made a mistake. I want to move the car back just a little. All right. And double check to make sure it's still lined up straight. All right. There it goes. And yeah, so this car does have these openings here on the side, but the difference is that, so this is a car that there's a Ford dealership down the street, and a few years ago they had the old school Ford GT and this newer version. And with the newer version, the difference is in these areas here, where these openings, they open all the way to the back so that the airflow can go right through. I think part of it is to probably cool the engine, but also to control that airflow. With the Hot Wheels cars, what we see is that these pockets aren't open. So any air that goes in there is going to get trapped and work to slow the car just a little. We don't know, it's hard to really say how much that affects it, but we know that it has to, just based on what we know about just the aerodynamics of the situation. So this is at 67 miles per hour, which is our sort of low, basic minimum cruising speed for these cars. Let's go ahead and turn this up. And once again, what we are seeing is that with the car being lifted, even just a little bit, we're now getting that first airstream that hits the bottom of the bumper. And you can see what happens. The air hits right here, and then it has to go around, it has to go over, it has to go under. And so you see it just kind of piling up right there. If we get a car in here today that has a larger frontal area, you'll really see the air start to pile up, and it'll be clear what's going on. So we're at 121 miles per hour. Going to push this up to 147. And in a lot of ways, we're seeing, what we're seeing is the Windsible just, sometimes it just shuts off. But we're turning it right back on. Alright, so let's get this, see if we can get this back up to speed. Get some of that smoke out of the chamber. We're up to 94 miles per hour. 107. 121. 134. Back up to 147. And like I said, we're kind of turning. We're at 174. $188. So for the most part, what we're seeing is exactly what we saw to an extent with the BlitzSpeeder. Is that airflow, it's hitting the hood, coming right to the windshield, coming up over the top, and then this back area it's a little tough, but the air is not, there's not a huge area of separation that we can see, and it's flowing right across the back to that wing. So I think what's going to be interesting about this car as we move it up to 201 miles per hour is seeing whether or not these little pockets on either side right here, that on the real car would have an opening right at the back so the air could flow through, whether or not this car starts to slow down toward the back end of the track. And that's usually the biggest indicator that we have that the issue with a car has to do with drag in some way. Is that the cars tend to slow down toward the back end of the track, and that is something that we've seen time and time again. So this is up to 201 miles per hour. Can't really tell much with the diffuser situation, and so Christopher wants to slide this one over to the side, I guess, to see if we can get a look at how the airflow interacts with those side pieces. So let's try to slide this over and see. See if we can get some sense of that. So the idea is to move the car off the center line, so we can see what happens when the airflow hits this little pocket. And we may be able to see something, we may not be able to see something, but it's definitely worth checking out, because that is probably what's going to make the difference with this car. Because otherwise, you know, it looked pretty solid and pretty good inside of the wind tunnel in that first view. So turn this up. We're up at 121 miles per hour, and now 161. And I think, let's take a look, see if we can see anything here. It's a little tough to see. You can kind of see there that the air is flowing to that pocket, but that the stream that we're looking at that's right at that pocket seems to be going above. And I can't really tell how much of this air is going into that little pocket. And again, we've moved this offline so you can see where the air is hitting this car. And so, like right there at the window, yeah, like Roughshod pointed out, at the window you can see how that air is flowing, but I don't know. I can't really get a good, strong sense about what's happening with that in that little pocket, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, keep an eye on. We can't really do much to assess it, but if this car is on the track and starts to slow down towards the back end, we know that there's an issue. And what could that issue be? Well, it's not going to be the probably it's not going to be the weight. It's probably not going to be the it's not going to be friction because the car is not going to, this particular car isn't going to be bouncing around the track. And if it starts to slow down, there's really just drag we can blame. Now, as I look at the car, let me switch over to this view. We can look and see that there is a bit of an opening. You can kind of see right there, like you can see the light shining through right in this area, like when I move my finger back there. So the air can flow through there. So they were pretty much true to the real car because there is an opening. So maybe that's why we didn't see the kind of air disruption that that I would have thought. But because there's a plastic piece right here, but then just above that is a little opening. So the air can hit that and flow up and then out of this back area. So it is possible, it is very much possible that this car could do something. Look at that huge diffuser there in the back. All right, so that was 466, and then there was 478. That's also a car he was considering, which is this one, the Koenigsegg Jesko. And that is a pretty unique looking supercar with the kind of double fins that lead into the wing. And let's go ahead and throw this into the wind tunnel and take a look, see what's happening here with this one, the Koenigsegg Jesko. Get that there, and let me make sure it's lined up right. Just getting this in here. Move these two things over, and then get it in here. Definitely like having the cars be a little bit more elevated. It's definitely preferable. Lock that in, and let's see what this car is doing here in the wind tunnel. We are at 67 miles per hour, our basic cruising speed, and what it looks like is the airflow is coming off of that wing and then just tailing off. We're up to 121 miles per hour. $147, $161, $174, and I would say there's a lot of, so right here, this airflow, it's not following the body of the car because the body of the car slopes down a little bit, and here goes this thing shutting off, but it'll give us a little better view. Even though it has these two fins here, at the roof line it kind of slopes down. What we're seeing with this airflow is it hits here, comes up to the roof, and then it kind of just pulls away and flows up into the air away from the body of the car. The smoke lines aren't as clean as they were, and you can kind of see there what's happening as the air, so we kick it back up. This car does have a bit of a bigger frontal area, and you see the air just piling up at the front, and then it has to go somewhere over, under, and around. Back up to 134 miles per hour. It's coming up over the top, and here is where it just kind of separates and flows up. And that creates those areas of low pressure in the back. We're up to 174 miles per hour. And See a little bit of the air kind of escaping right out back here. But yeah, this air is definitely pulling away. And it's slight. It's not something that's as obvious with a car that we might see with a car that's poorly shaped, but it's definitely something that's happening. So between these two cars, I would say it seems that Ford, we're up to 201 miles per hour. It seems that Ford has the better shot at competing on the track and doing well. It's hard to, it's all speculation until we run with the test. So Christopher has decided to go with this one, 478, the 2020 Koenigsegg Jesko, and so the Ford GT will have to wait, and we will see on Saturday how this Jesko, how it does. Interesting pick. But it's still in the mold of like supercar style, so nothing wrong with that. And let's see, Roughshod, one of the cars he is considering is this one, the Megane. Oh, let me get it in focus. That might help. Lock that focus in. Bring that zoom in a bit. Get a closer look at this one. This kind of rally hatchback, and the Megane Trophy. I think it's called 323. It is, yeah, the Megane Trophy, and definitely little hatchback action. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one inside the wind tunnel. Everything about it's pretty traditional. It's got the diffuser down there. It's got the wing right at the roof line, and let's see what it's going to do and what we can see in the tunnel. Get that there. This here. Back this thing up just a bit. Let me make sure it's lined up straight. It is not. Is now. All right, the Megane Trophy. Is this going to be the car? I saw there's another one that he is considering, so we'll check it out. This one first, and get up to our cruising speed of 67 miles per hour and see what we're gonna see. All right, so this is 80, and you can see that what I like is how you can see the air building up in the front when it hits the front in this that dark white air, and you can see that it's got to go somewhere, over, under, and around. So it hits that front, which is why cars with bigger, larger frontal areas have trouble, because they're essentially running into this wall of air and having to push the air out of the way. And let's see, as we turn this up, so Roughshod said one of the things he was thinking about with this one is that the roof line, it doesn't drop off, which is good, because in cars where the roof kind of drops off towards the back end of the car, we see that the airflow that's where the separation happens. Cars like the BlitzSpeeder or this one, they kind of have that long roof line that kind of slightly drops down. There's less likelihood of the car having that issues with the low pressure and the high pressure, creating that pressure drag. We're up to 147 miles per hour. Here is 174, and Christopher wanted to see over the top, so we can kind of take that view. Not really think too much. That doesn't really give us too much information, that top view. It does show how much of the air flows out from the sides of the car. But I think this is the view that really tells us a lot about what we're going to see. Because, again, there's that big frontal area. So there's a lot of air building up right here in the front. And it's just a matter of how much does that work to slow the car down, having a larger frontal area. As the air comes back across the top, the hood, the windshield, the roof line, I mean, it's separating a bit, but because the roof line doesn't drop off that much, it's not a huge, it's not a big issue. We're up to 201 miles per hour right here, and this is one of the cars that Roughshod's considering. I'm going to grab the other one. So this is that's the Megane Trophy. And we kind of see what that's doing. Now the other car that Roughshod is considering is also more of a fantasy kind of sporty hatchback, whereas this Megane Trophy is absolutely a real car. The other one he's considering is this one, the Super Gnat, and it's kind of a fantasy hatchback situation we've got going on, and it is definitely got those features you like to see, and that there's not a big transition between well, it's pretty smooth from the hood right up to the windshield to the roof line. With this one, once we throw it in the wind tunnel, I think we'll probably see the air just kind of break off right in this area, which is typically where we see it happen when it's going to happen. But it's going to come up, and I think probably right about here it'll just break off. But we're going to see. This is the whole issue. We kind of put these cars in the wind tunnel, make our observations, make our guesses, and then from there we just have to ultimately take them to the track and see how they perform. Once they perform, we make those observations just like the students. Let me get over here to the wind tunnel. Make those observations and kind of assess how did they do? Or why did they do what they did? Why do we think they performed a certain way? Maybe we had an expectation that a certain car was going to be really fast, and it ended up slowing down considerably at the back end. We've had enough races and we know enough now about what's going on to know that if a car slows down on the back end, that it's typically related to drag, and we can well, if it's a lighter car, the drag is going to slow it down. The aerodynamic profile is going to, even if it's good, drag tends to slow those cars down. With heavier cars, it's usually that weight. Drag works against them, but that weight is going to be a problem. It's a matter that it's getting the same amount of force as a smaller car pushed out of the launching block, but it weighs more, so it would require more force to maintain and get to a, higher speed, or as high a speed as the smaller car. But when we see cars that weigh about the same amount, it's usually drag that's going to be the main factor. So with this, we're up to 161 miles per hour, and I don't really see the huge separation that I was expecting to see right at this area. This actually looks pretty good. Going up to 188 miles per hour. And it is, yeah, I think this is pretty good. Let me see if I can raise this up. I'm trying to see if we're getting this. Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that's better about raising this. We raised the car up just a little bit, and the blocks are only under the wheels. So that means that the center area of the car is open, so we're getting a better idea about the airflow underneath the car. Now, granted, most of the Hot Wheels cars are flat underneath. They have a few little molded parts to simulate, axles and transmissions and what have you. But we're getting to see that this air hits the bottom of these cars and flows right under. Sometimes it's spilling out here a little bit. We can see that, where it's spilling out just from the sides right there. But we're also getting the airflow right underneath the car. And that is this one. This is not a bad choice. It does have a larger frontal area. Again, sort of like that Megane Trophy. It's got this bigger frontal area. If it came down to more of a point, or had a little less of this, then I think this would be an easier call. But I think that given what we're looking at, I would have to see these cars perform to really understand, and try to then figure out why one car was faster than the other. This is down to 107 miles per hour, and you can just see, especially around the front, how the air is flowing around the sides of the car right there. And sometimes at a lower speed you can see a little bit, you can see different things at different speeds. And you see the air kind of, this swirling kind of mass right here, this little vortex at the back end of the car. But this is the Super Gnat. So we are going to find out if either of those cars is going to be the one that Roughshod decides to go with, or if he ends up, okay, so there it is. He's going with the Super Gnat, this one, and that is going to be his pick. And I can't knock this pick. This is a solid car. And I think more so, it's really just is the reasoning, what's the reasoning behind it? Now, there is one thing to consider, that as I picked this up, I realized it is, well, let's switch over here. It's got a metal base, and I'm trying to tell if this, I think the white part is metal as well. So we're talking about metal on metal, which may give that car some extra weight. We've seen kind of compact cars with a little more weight do well. That's not really anything too unusual. One car we're going to put in, another weird, strange car that may be selected as Never Ending. One of our regular viewers and racers was interested in this one, the Iridium. And it's just another fantasy car, but it's got the wing is kind of in front of the rear tires, and it sticks out in that kind of airplane fashion. It's got that channel right down the middle, and if you kind of look at the car, it's got a channel coming right up the middle, right through the windshield, the roof line, and right between that wing. So I wanted to check this out in the wind tunnel and see what exactly is going on here, and see if there's something in the wind tunnel that we'll be able to see that will make this either seem like a great pick, or maybe it's a car that there's a clear reason not to choose it. But I like the fact that it's got that channel right down the middle. If we take a look here, you can see it there. It starts in the front, goes right up the windshield, right across the roof, right over through between that wing, and then even down the middle it's got that little bit of a channel. So just want to see what this Iridium has to show us here in the wind tunnel. And again, if you want to participate, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, click the link that says choose a car, find a car that you want to race, take the number of that car, drop it in the chat, and I will pull it, and it will be entered into the tournament to race on Saturday. And if you need the link to watch live, you can also go to AtTheTrack.live. The YouTube stream link is there. So is the Twitch stream link. And if you subscribe, then hey, you won't miss a thing. All right. This is up to 161 miles per hour. And we see the airflow is doing, but the real question is what's happening up here. And it is another situation where it is just tough. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on. We know that the air is definitely hitting that channel, but then but what's happening, what happens when the air hits those wings? How is it being disrupted? And let's go ahead and turn this up a little bit, see if we can. Sometimes you can see a little more at the higher speeds. Sometimes you can see some key things at the lower speeds. It just really depends. Let's take a look at the back end right there. And you can definitely see the air is you can see the air is separating from the body just a little bit. It's right up here. It's coming across the top and kind of flowing off. We're not necessarily seeing it's not I don't think it's a huge issue, but it's probably something to that will come back, and we'll come back and look at it after the fact. If this is the car that Never Ending ultimately goes with, then that's what we'll do. We'll just check it out, see what we can see, and maybe have to put it back in the wind tunnel after we've seen exactly what it can do. So this is at 188. Bring this back down. So that is the Iridium. And there we go. All right, so we've thrown some cars into the wind tunnel. We have, this is the first time that we tested out the little homemade wheel stands that I put together. And I think they served the purpose. They raised the cars up just enough to get more interaction with the airstreams. And that was what we wanted to have happen. So the next thing is to see how all these cars end up performing on the track on Saturday. Roughshod has made his pick. Christopher has made his pick. I am going to introduce some new cars into the fleet, which I still haven't decided which ones those will be. But by Saturday, it'll be all worked out and ready to go. And if you want to pick a car, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live and select the Choose Your Car tab. Once you do that, you can scroll through. We have 900 cars, minus the BlitzSpeeder. There's 899 cars, but I started at number 2. So there's actually 898 cars for you to choose from. And if you can find the one that is faster than the BlitzSpeeder, you'll be an all about aerodynamics at the track live legend. Maybe it's the Super Gnat, maybe it's the Koenigsegg Jesko. I don't know. We'll definitely find out. But beating the BlitzSpeeder is tough. But forget about that. Just gotta first. You have to start off by beating all the other cars that are introduced. So that's what we're gonna be doing. We'll be here on Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific. We'll be back here next Wednesday, 4 p.m. with new cars in the wind tunnel, seeing what we see, and maybe we'll take some of the newer cars that we introduced on Saturday, put them in the wind tunnel because we want to see how their performance matches up with what we see in the wind tunnel. So just a little bit of aerodynamics, a little bit of fun. If you would like more information about our science program, all about aerodynamics, go to our website, aerodynamics.com. Or follow us on Instagram, AA Aerodynamics, and all the information that you need is going to be listed in the bio, and you can contact me to find out more information about how to bring our program to your school or your organization or your special event. So, for Wind Tunnel Wednesdays, for At The Track Live, and for All About Aerodynamics, I am Coach James. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I will see you at the races.